Hi there, Steph. Thanks for popping by. Another day, another Prismacolor card. I hope you like it. So today's card was made using one of the new clearly Besotted release stamp set. I love florals, and I love this kind of floral particularly. I like the ones with large petal. I always struggle with roses, for example. The one with large petal gives me a lot more space to blend a different color, and I've learned a lot watching Kathy Rakusin video and cards and things, and I love how she mixes um, colors which are on the opposite side of the spectrum kind of thing. So here, for example, the yellow against the blue, although there's green in the middle, it's not necessarily two colors I would have mixed before. And I really like how Kathy does that, and I'm trying to learn how to do that. And I need petals. I need large-ish spaces to do that, which, for example, I don't have with roses. Roses are too. I find the space is too small. And for example, if I color with Copic, if the space is too small and I try to mix, then I oversaturate the paper with ink and then it bleeds. And with Prisma, it will mix, but it won't blend very well. So here, this kind of flower for me is ideal for that kind of coloring, and I've been waiting for a while to have kind of a UK brand do that, because I've seen some of the brands do it, but not necessarily in the UK, and then we get the postage is really expensive from the US to the UK depending on where it's coming from. So I was really pleased with that stamp set, so I love it basically. To sum up, that's what I wanted to say. I love it. So I started coloring. I did the center of the flower very light white. It's actually white, yeah, or maybe a very light yellow. It's actually hard to tell against the Strathmore and grey. I did stamp with some Altenew Crisp ink because I wanted something blue. That's the only colored ink I have really, and it's fine because it gets covered by the Prismacolor anyway, so it's not a problem. So I did a light center and then a dark outside, and then I blended toward the yellow. So I did the blue and then the yellow, and the blue and the yellow kind of mixed to give you that green. And then I re-blended with the lighter yellow in the middle. And I've sped up the second flower a lot because it's the same than the first flower really, except that when you start you kind of, you're going slowly, you're mixing colors carefully. Once you've done one flower, you kind of know how it works, so you do that kind of, I did the dark blue and then the medium blue and then the yellow, and I go around, so it kind of saves time. But the first few petals I tried carefully, I think that's a saying, I'm not quite sure. So here we go. But I really am pleased with the result. And I think he didn't mix perfectly, but I think it looks really nice like that, to kind of have that center. I really love this, I think they are Tahitian flowers, but I'm not quite sure. I see them on the bronzing oil bottle a lot, and I'm not quite sure how they're called, but they like white in the middle and yellow on the outside, and I think it's so nice. I love how that goes from a very light white to a very yellow edge, and it's kind of what I had in mind, something kind of exotic, and I love blues, so that's kind of why. So once I'm done with the flowers, I did do a little bit of blending as well, I suppose, because my yellow kind of overpowered my white, if that makes sense. So then I used the colorless blender to kind of, it blends, but it also kind of removes a little bit of that waxy thing from the crayon. And then I could layer some more white on the top and then reblend the yellow, and obviously every time you blend the color you kind of want to blend the one next to it and so on, so it takes a little bit longer, but I do speed things up so it doesn't last too long for you to, for the video. I don't want it to become boring. So then I did the branch, and instead of green I went for brown for a change, and I used 3 different colors, so a medium, then a dark, and then a very light in the middle, so it gives that kind of reflection effect. And then for the lips, I went with that orangey yellow, and I thought, oh dear, what did I do? Once it was down, it was too late. I mean, you can kind of fade it, but you can't get rid of it completely. And somehow it worked. I took green, which was not the same. I tend to take 3 different greens that go well together, just a dark, medium, and a light. And here I went for something completely different. I'm obviously inspired by other you know, coloring artist out there, and I did probably in the back of my mind, I probably picked something I've seen somewhere, but not really realized it until it was kind of finished. And I'm actually really pleased with the result, so that's cool. What I thought was quite cool, it was to I used a yellow, a khaki, and a brown, and because the brown is the same one than on the twig or the branch, I thought it worked quite well. Instead of, if the branch had been green and the leaves the color they are, I think it would have looked odd. So somehow I'm quite happy of how it worked out in the end. I'm babbling really. I like it anyway. And I think that kind of yellowish color against that brown for leaves actually works, I think, really well. And it's something a year ago I would never ever, maybe even 6 months ago, I would never have dared to do. Because you do a card and you don't really want to try something just in case you mess it up. So here we go. So here I did the shading, and I jumped quite a good chunk because it took me a while, and I was just trying to speed things along. Once I was done with the shading is warm grey, by the way, 7, 5 and 3, if I remember well, because the cardstock is about as dark as a warm grey 3, not quite. So I sometimes use a warm grey 1 to blend the edges, but the 1 is pretty much, you can't see it. And then I use a Spica Atu blue, and I retraced some of the edges, and I added a little bit of glitter on the petals, which is, I think, quite subtle. I try not to go overboard with the glitter here on this card, but I did put a little bit because I think it always adds a little something. I don't know why, I just, when I look at my card, I think it adds a little something. And then I will use a blue glaze pen just to retrace. Actually, I put more glitters than I thought, but it looks at all anyway when I see it. And with the blue glaze pen here, I just retrace the center of the lines, and it just gives a little bit more contrast. And that's quite nice. So here a little bit of white gel, Sakura white gel pen, but not too much at all. And then I stamped my gritting, and it's a brand new stamp, so it did stamp very well. It will stamp better next time, but I just retraced my gritting with a glaze pen. Oh no, sorry, I retraced it with a black gel pen, and then I accentuated the thick parts of the word with the gel pen, the glaze pen, sorry, and then I use a Sakura white gel pen, and I just like to do that, it adds a little bit of dimension. Then I just glued my card on my card front, and that was it really. So a fair bit of coloring, but I'm actually quite pleased on how it worked out. I hope you found it interesting. The photos will hopefully, voila, the photo will show you. I probably did increase the contrast a bit too much there, but the photo will give you a good idea of the contrast, and I think that cardstock is brilliant. Thank you very much for watching. Please give it a thumbs up if you like it, and please head over to my blog if you want to see the photo. Thanks again, and have a great day. Bye!